We're beginning to learn more about how Capitol Hill intends to regulate Facebook's handling of people's private information. The public became aware of Facebook's power over their data in the wake of the Cambridge Analytica scandal. Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg is scheduled to testify before the House Energy and Commerce Committee next Wednesday, which could lead to new federal data privacy rules. In an article for Axios, tech reporters Kim Hart and David McCabe outlined the potential regulations. They also explained the impact these rules could have on social media and the internet as a whole. And David McCabe is joining us now from Washington to break it all down. So, fascinating piece that you guys have written. Zuckerberg is testifying in 1 week. What can we expect?
Well, good morning, Vlad. Thank you for having me. We can expect, I think, a lot of tough questions to Zuckerberg, right? He has never testified in the more than a decade that Facebook has been on the rise. He has never testified before Congress. And so there are a lot of pent-up questions with lawmakers when it comes to privacy.
So what does a regulated Facebook look like?
Well, you know, a lot of the proposals we've seen so far either come out conceptually or actually be introduced by lawmakers attack one aspect of Facebook's business, right? One proposal adds disclosures to online political ads, which of course is a small part of their ad business. Another one that we'll see, I think, fairly soon from lawmakers in the House is a bill that would allow data portability, the idea you could take your data and take it somewhere else to another platform. What we're not seeing so far is the kind of sweeping privacy regulations or the sweeping platform regulations that have been brought up in some academic contexts and on the privacy front in Europe.
So I'm really intrigued by this data portability. One of the things that I had suggested to other technology writers is, wouldn't it be great if Facebook just had at the very top of your Facebook page a opt-out button? You could opt out of every single tracking methodology or algorithm that they use, and then slowly, drip by drip, allow yourself to opt into certain things. How does this data portability differ from that, or what is the difference, I guess, in the way you write about it?
So data portability is this idea that there should be a right, basically, that your data should be available to you in a kind of common, structured format. This is in the GDPR regulations in Europe, and it is something that I know there's interest in the House. So it's the idea that you could take your data from Facebook, if you were dissatisfied with your experience on Facebook, with Facebook's use of that data, and take it to another service, which of course might allow for kind of smaller upstarts to have a lower cost into the market, which might also increase competition. And I know that's something we'll probably hear from lawmakers as well. On the opt-in front, as you mentioned, that also is something that could be discussed, the idea that there might be a requirement for at least some aspect of data collection to be opt-in instead of opt-out, so not the default. But all of this is sort of swirling around, and we'll see what comes out of these hearings next week, and then what kind of takes off.
So the other thing that I find sort of really interesting, and it's something you just pointed out, is any attempt to regulate Facebook, my feeling is that you would fundamentally change the business model of the company. Just the point that you made there, allowing smaller players to enter the market, to chip away at the dominance that Facebook has. I'm guessing Zuckerberg and Sheryl Sandberg do not want that to happen. It's
undeniable that Facebook's business is data collection. That's the whole game. So anything that impinges on that absolutely raises questions about how that would affect their bottom line. And Mark has said that they're willing to sacrifice some level of profitability, in order to solve some of these issues that have come up around democracy and content online. But the question is, how far are they willing to go? And how far are lawmakers willing to make them go?
One other question, Dave, is it's not a secret that Mark Zuckerberg is not necessarily the best face of the company when it comes to making public statements or being in front of cameras, answering questions. These lawmakers are well-versed in the art of grandstanding and righteous indignation. How do you think he's going to fare under those conditions?
Well, I think we've seen him, you're exactly right, we've seen him come out more publicly in the last week or so around this Cambridge Analytica scandal, which speaks to how big a deal this is, that he is willing to go totally out of his element. You're exactly right. For years, he's been thought of as sort of stiff and not great with the press, let alone kind of hostile actors like lawmakers. But I think you nailed the dynamic. We're going to be watching to see how willing he is to step up to lawmakers and how well received his pitch is. But of course, it's important for viewers to remember that Facebook has a significant policy apparatus. They have Washington consultants that they brought on staff as part of the Russia crisis last year. So they have a whole crew of people who are devoted to trying to help get him ready and help prepare the company. And we've seen them actually roll out a lot of announcements in the last week or so that will be something he can point to during the hearings.
Has the public lost faith in Facebook, or is it just that there's been a lot of media coverage of these issues that are facing the company, and that has sort of led to a bad PR problem? And if they have lost that trust, how do they gain it back? Will this do it, going in front of Congress?
We did an Axios poll with SurveyMonkey a little bit ago last week, and they have said that their favorability ratings for Facebook are falling. But by and large, the industry often scores higher. Players in the industry often score high on these trust ratings. So it's sort of a mixed bag, but Facebook is certainly in more of a red zone than it was 9 months ago.
Axios' Dave McCabe. Thank you so much, David. We appreciate it. Great reporting.